Welcome to the eSales Podcast, your ultimate guide to mastering the art of online selling. Whether you're an entrepreneur, business owner, digital marketer, or sales professional, this podcast is the passport to dominating the digital marketplace. In this episode, we talk to Tish Times, who's a sales and networking expert. We talk about building relationships, how to actually network intentionally and effectively, and how to improve your sales processes by following up and having good technology in place so that way we can accelerate sales results. Tish talks about how networking is not a one-night stand and how it's a process of building relationships, connections through not just now, but through generations. Tish is very, very passionate about what she does. And for those of you who are just getting into sales or not quite sure if you like sales or not, Tish is a perfect example of someone who's been there, done that, and really accelerated her business through her love of sales. So grab a coffee, grab a tea, and enjoy the show. So welcome, Tish. I'm so excited to have you on the show. And for those of you listening, Tish is the driver behind Tish Times Sales Agency, empowering sales teams to thrive. She's had almost 15 years of experience and has revolutionized businesses and entrepreneurs. I'm really excited to have you part of the show, Tish. And I know that last time when we spoke, we talked about how you are really expert in networking and how we can get people and bums in seats, essentially. So Tish, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem, no problem. And look, tell us a little bit about where you've come and how you got to where you are today.
Absolutely. So I've had my business, Tish Times Sales Agency, for 14 years. This month will be 14 years. Actually, in June will be 14 years.
Wow.
And it's gone through many iterations. I used to be in the world of staffing many years ago. When I was in that world, I got kind of tricked into going into the sales department. It wasn't something I wanted to do, but I found that I loved building relationships and I loved serving people. And that for me is the biggest thing. And I think that even those that are listening who have a apprehension about sales, if they'll understand that little mindset shift, that it's not about selling your stuff, it's about helping people, it's about serving people, it's about helping people get what they want. That's the biggest thing. So when I got that, it was literally like it's on. I wanted to be able to help more people. And throughout my career, as I started building my own business, first in the staffing world and then in career coaching, and then eventually in really teaching people how to network and sell more effectively, it's just been a journey for me of serving more people, helping. My whole thing is I help entrepreneurs, sales professionals to fall in love with sales because I find a lot of people don't love it. They have a really negative, preconceived notion about what sales is. And so when I can help them fall in love with sales, it makes me very happy.
Oh, I love that so much. And I can tell your energy. You're really just thriving when you're talking about how much you love sales. And so how did you get to the point where you love sales? I mean, it's hard for some, and some people actually don't get there.
Yeah, again, I think once I stopped thinking of it as number one, I thought that I was afraid because my income was directly related to my commissions. And I was kind of afraid when I was first going into sales that maybe I'm not going to be able to make enough sales, which means I won't be able to make enough money. So I can't contribute to my household, all of those things. But when I realized that if I can help more people, if I can really help people to get what they're ultimately looking for in the first place and just make it a little bit easier for them. And then on top of that, I can make money. It was literally a mindset. It just blew my mind to understand it from that perspective. When I began to do that more and more and over again, and I think that's important to note also, is the repetitive nature of sales is what helps people to get better. What tends to happen is people find that, okay, somebody said no, this person said no, this person said no, I'm not good at this, so I'm going to stop and go do something else. But that's not, it's like if we understand that the more consistently we make offers, the better we generally get at it if we're willing to make the offer and then make the adjustment. Because at first I wasn't great at it. I found myself hit and miss. But I continue to do it. And to this day, it's like, if you're having a tough sales day, go make more sales calls, get back on the phones, get back in front of more people. And that's what really helps you to shift it. And that's what made me fall in love with it, because I get to talk to more and more people every single week and ultimately help them reach their goals.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. I love how you said that it's just like repetition. Go talk to someone over and over and over again and over again. And I can see that in your works that you also have like a book that called Networking is Not a One Night Stand. I love that. You know, can you build on from that for me, please? For the audience as well.
Yeah, I interestingly, I created that title because when I would go out and network, I would get so frustrated with these people who would walk up to you and hand you their business card like they were playing poker and then immediately try to sell you something. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. I don't know you like that. Give me time to get to know you. Uh, Act like you care. Literally, I made that parallel very intentionally because if someone is in a dating relationship, they don't want to meet somebody for the first time and then they get invited to their hotel room, right? They want to have the opportunity to get to know someone, to what we call woo them, to
Mm,
romance them, you know what I mean? To make them feel like they're special. And in the business world, we have that same responsibility for our potential new clients is to really make them understand that you really do care. Be patient enough to get to know them, to know what they absolutely need. Because in all honesty, there are people who need to sell better, but I'm not the right person for them. And I wouldn't know that if I didn't take the time to spend with them. So that book title came from real experiences where people were selling too quickly, or they were selling and then immediately stopping the relationship. They didn't have any nurture. They didn't have any, anything to really help continue that relationship to build after the sale was made. And
mm,
so it's really designed for that. It's like it's not a one night stand, it's a long-term relationship. And to be honest with you, it can be, depending on your industry, it can be a generational relationship,
mm.
which means if you buy, for instance, if you sell houses, I should be so good at selling houses that when my kids, my clients' children grow up and get ready to buy houses, they get married and buy houses, my clients should be referring their kids to me and so on and so forth. But that doesn't happen when we treat it like it's a one night stand.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. I like that. And it is generational, and you're right, it's about building that ongoing relationship. But you did mention before to talk to people and talk to someone you don't know and just get out there. So um I'm thinking that that part's can be tricky for some, but then if you do go out and talk, do you have an intention? Do you kind of target your audience? Like you can't just talk to anyone. Like if you're a real estate agent, you're going to talk to a swim instructor. I don't know, something like that, you know? So is there an
Yeah,
intention that you go in?
absolutely. I mean, though, and when we teach about networking and using networking as the entry point for your sales process, we teach what we call the pre-game, the game, and then the post-game.
Yeah.
And that just means that you prepare for the event, meaning how many people do you really need to connect with and make deep connections. It's different. You can go and meet 30 people if you want to, but those 30 people are not going to be clients for you, right? Because you didn't really connect with them. So
Mm.
I will go to an event with the intention of meeting 3 to 5 deep connections. And that means that we're going to have a few minutes to talk. I'm going to know a little bit about their business. I'm going to know a little bit about their goals. And even in that book, it's like there's networking, what we call conversation starters that will very intentionally draw those answers out in that conversation. So I may not walk up to someone. My least favorite thing people say when they network is, "So what do you do?" It's like who wants to be approached like that?
Yeah.
A better way to say that might be, what lights you on fire? Why are you in love with your business? Or, why do you do what you do? Same question, but it's just phrased a little differently to, again, to draw something out of them you would not get from, so what do you do? Because they're just going to answer it and that's the end of the conversation.
Mm-mm-mm.
And so it's literally preparing, knowing how many connections do I want to make? What types of people do I need to connect with? So that means I don't go to every conference. I don't go to every networking event. I'm very intentional
Yep.
with the types of events, which means we got to do a little more research to know who's going to be in that room. And then, of course, then you know what you do when you're in the room, and then you know how to follow up effectively after that. So there's a full process for networking. You don't just walk into a room and go, I wonder what's going to happen. You should
Yeah.
have a plan for
Yeah.
how you're going to walk away from those networking events.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's really important as well. So, like, in order to have that plan executed, what do you think would be a good tip for someone to who hasn't ever done networking before?
Yeah. So when you go into an event, it's the same thing as for most people because I really tend to attract more introverted entrepreneurs who are least likely to
Yeah.
love going to a networking event. So I get it. I'm the same way. I've overcome it because I've practiced it so much. But I would say find events, if at all possible, find someone that you can, have a networking partner or networking buddy. Matter of fact, I use it many times as prospecting. So I might say, okay, V, you're an ideal client from me, and there's this an event coming up. And I may call you and say, hey, V, I would love to go to this event. I'm not really comfortable. Would you be my networking partner? Can we go together? Because you're probably going to meet some people that you need to meet, and hopefully I will also. But at the end of the day, if it gets uncomfortable, we have each other, so
Yeah.
it's like that's a great way to build a relationship with a new prospective client while also preparing yourself to be in a room where you're not going to know anybody else more than likely, is one thing. The other thing is be armed with questions, be armed with a plan, because if you walk into a room where you don't know anyone and
Mm.
you're introverted, you don't really want to be there in the first place, you're going to walk out. You
Yeah.
don't have any idea how many networking events before I got this, how many events I walked into, and 10 minutes later I was back in my car because I
Yeah.
did not want to talk to strangers. I did not like it. I would be like, you know what? This isn't working for me. I'm out. So having a plan and potentially having, someone that can kind of be your sidekick a little bit
Yep.
is a great way to, to take the edge off. And
Mm.
then to be honest, the same thing with sales. It's like to get comfortable, you got to go do it more. Do it
Yeah.
more. Up for as
Yeah.
many as you can and get comfortable by being uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's amazing. So like having a networking buddy, and also as you mentioned before, talk to 3 to 5 business owners and really get to have a deeper connection with them, I think is really, really like exceptional for those of you who are out there listening and kind of hesitant, umming and ahhing whether they should go to the next networking event or not. And make sure you don't go to the car after 10 minutes of actually entering the room.
Yeah, I've gone to conferences where I've spent thousands of dollars to be at this conference in a whole different city and then supposed to be in the room. And I literally would be like sitting in a corner. So I'm telling you the honest to God truth. I'd be sitting in a corner like, oh God, I just want to go upstairs and go in my room. I don't want to be here. So I that's how I kind of started doing that. It's like, okay, you can go to your room after you've made 3 deep connections and make
Mm.
it very intentional. And that's where I began to realize, okay, if I can make those deep connections that are going to lead to something more, and I'm not being phony and I'm not feeling, inauthentic because I'm just trying to meet as many people as I possibly can, that was a game changer for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good. So I guess like with that, networking has shifted, in the last, especially since COVID, now that we have like more online events and things. How
Yeah.
can you use your techniques now with networking and implement them through online channels?
Yeah, I think it's very similar, and I know it is because I mean, obviously, I was here too in 2020, and I had to make
Yep.
those adjustments. And I learned to very respectfully reach out to people in their private message. If I'm on a Zoom call with 40 or 50 other people, and maybe they're doing introductions, or I see the name of that person and their title, and I realize, hey, I work with these types of people, I might just inbox them and say, hey, I don't want to interrupt the meeting right now, but I would love to have some time to maybe chat with you later. Can we schedule something to talk? Because I'd love to get to know you a little bit better and see how I might be able to, refer business to you or know if I know anyone that you need to know. If you go in with, hey, I want to talk to you and see if I can sell you stuff, they're never going to say yes to that.
Yeah.
But you have to go in with a pure heart, and that's the probably the biggest thing. Is like check your own heart and get to the place where you really do care about helping. If you work with entrepreneurs, that you really do care about helping entrepreneurs. If you work with, accountants, that you understand their business and you know how to be able to be of service to them and be a resource for them. But if you go in with a pure heart and it's like, hey, I'd love to just talk with you and know how I can be of service to you. How can I introduce you to people that you might need to know? Most people will say yes to that, and they'll get you, drop your calendar link and then get them on your calendar that way as an easy way to do it if you're in an online environment that's a little bit different than when you're walking into a room.
Yeah, yeah, okay, okay. And do you find that still being as effective as the face-to-face networking, or is there other elements that you need to add to kind of build that relationship further?
Yeah, I think that is definitely because it's gotten so I guess crowded, if you will, in people's inboxes that it's a little, so I would never do that just on social anymore. There
Right.
was a time when it worked. Now it's just like it's overdone and people do it so poorly that it's almost offensive for you to jump in someone's inbox. Now, if I'm on a Zoom call and we're all there for the same purpose and I see you face to face, I would drop you a message in the Zoom chat,
Yeah.
a private message that way. Absolutely. I think that still works and is very effective. But if I met you, I wouldn't just go jump on your LinkedIn inbox or something without a real value add, without a real sincere, you know, approach to being able to want to do something else. So something that I do that works really well for me, and it's very low risk, if you will, to get people to kind of take a next step with us, is what we do. We do roundtables. And so
Mm.
if I'm inviting you and saying, hey, I know three other people that you probably need to know. Would you like to come to this event so I can introduce you to them? That's a yes for most people,
Yeah.
right? And then once we have that roundtable and they kind of get to know me a little bit, because I'm going to be talking to them about what I do as well as the other people in the room talking about what they do. Now that, that pressure is a little bit lower. And then if I say, hey, thanks for coming. I'd love to do a one-on-one with you. Thanks for being in this group session. Love to do a one-to-one and understand your business a little bit more. Then they're probably going to say yes to that next step. But there's a couple of steps in between, kind of like the
Mm.
networking is not I stand. It's like figuring out a way to take those barriers down a little bit,
Mm.
build trust for them.
Yep.
That's what really makes a big difference, I think.
Yeah, yeah, okay, okay. No, that's cool. And I like how you said that it was more around breaking those barriers initially and building those relationships rather than just going directly to the inbox. I think
Yeah.
that can be very bombarding and you're right, crowded. And it's really hard to kind of stand out sometimes, right? So that kind of brings me on to my next question. You said that you've been one who always gets bums on seats and, brings crowds in. How do you kind of bring the crowd in? What kind of makes you stand out from everyone else who even is doing that?
Yeah, the thing that people tell me, I'll say what I hear more than anything else is um I'm very in your face, but in a very good way.
Yep.
Meaning I just, when I'm on a stage, I literally am, although I'm talking to the entire audience, I'm talking to each person, right? So I'm gonna, when I'm, unless it's a stage where it's really far removed from the audience, I'm gonna walk up to somebody and I'm gonna, directly speak to them, look them directly in their eye. Um, I love what I do. And I think that anyone who's been in an audience where I've spoken, they know it's not me getting on a stage for the sake of giving a speech. It's not me on this stage because I feel like this is my opportunity to sell people my stuff. It's what I promise you, I feel like this is what I was born to do. It's one of the things I know I'm gifted to do. And so when it comes across that way, I think people can sense the inauthenticity when people don't love what they do. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
when I speak, I feel like I'm blessed to be in that room. And it's not so much that, you know what I mean, that, oh, they get to hear me. It's like I get to speak to these people. I get to pour into them. I get to be a part of their experience for this 30 minutes or this hour or however long
Mm.
I'm going to be in front of that room. And I take it so seriously. So that's the difference. If you ask me, what's the real difference? It's that um, I don't ever approach it. And I've been speaking for almost 20 years. I still get nervous every single time. I take it extremely seriously. I take it as a privilege and an honor to be in front of the room and have the audience of these people for the period of time that I have. And so I'm going to give them everything I have. I literally am going to give them everything that I can.
Oh, incredible. Oh my gosh. Yes, I can even see it through this Zoom call at the moment. Your energy is just radiating. And I really hope the audience is also feeling the same as well. Look, Tish, I think that's fantastic. And I love that you kind of given us the steps and the how to as to how to break those barriers when it comes to networking and getting more eyes and leads and being more in front of the crowd. But you did mention in your introduction that you also help teams and businesses like kind of streamline their sales process. So now someone's walked in, you've said hello, you've gotten to know them a bit more. How do you get them seamlessly to um, finishing a deal with you?
Yeah, I mean, generally, when I introduce myself and people ask me a little bit more about what I do, and I'm very, very honest. I tell them I help people who may rock their business, be extremely good at what they do, but still fumble a little bit about the sales process or really have gaps in their sales process and not really sure why they're not having consistent sales.
Yeah.
Generally, my ideal clients will kind of like lean in and say, "Oh my God, I need to know more," you know. And so I think that many times we miss opportunities in our introduction when we try to fluff it up and make it so, you know, I don't know, real cute and all of these things. We sometimes miss opportunities for people just to be able to say, "I need that." Okay, tell me more. I need that. And then generally, once they decide, so I spoke at an event last week and did the exact same thing. And I shared with them, these are the types of people that I help. And, you know, I had people walking up to me at the end saying, "Hey, I have a sales team. This is how many people are on my team. Can I work with you? I just had a call yesterday, same thing. They're like, I heard you speak and I'd love you to come and talk to my company." So it's just being
Mm,
very clear about what you do, who you work with, maybe where they are in their business or in their career, and that way people can what I call self-select. They can say, "Oh my God, that's me. I need you," or "I know someone who needs you." And then once they say that, we obviously will schedule some time for us to talk deeper and still determining if in fact they're a good fit. And
yeah.
if they're a good fit and I'm the perfect person for them, then we then take it from there.
Yeah, oh, so good, so good. And so I'm curious to know, you said you go into sales, so businesses and train teams. Now I'm keen to
Mhm.
understand what are the areas in a team where they find most challenging, and how do you help them out? Like what are the issues and how do you help them?
Interestingly, one of the biggest issues is also one of the most simple things. I find that with sales teams, when they come to me, they don't really have a process. You know, generally, if you have someone who's not a salesperson kind of leading a sales team, they're just saying, "Get on the phone and make calls." You know what I mean? And they'll say something like, "You got to make more calls. The more calls you make, the more sales you're going to make." And there's more to it than that. And when people don't have clear direction, they don't know exactly what to do, guess what they generally do? Nothing. They make excuses. They make themselves busy. They busy themselves with paperwork. They don't really know exactly what to do and what to say and how to say it and how to overcome those objections. So when I'm working with the sales team, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to identify, we're going to do an audit of their entire sales process.
Mm,
If they happen to record calls, we're going to listen to those calls and identify, "Oh, wow, if they would have just said this," or "Okay, I can help them. If they would just open it this way or ask these additional questions, they can probably have a better result," right? And so looking at their gaps in their sales process and then figuring out, okay, are these easy fixes? And sometimes, and it sounds bad, but sometimes it's like, is this the right person for this job? Because
mm,
everybody's not necessarily a salesperson, right? Um, can everyone be taught? Yes, but only if they have the heart for it, only if they have the desire to really want to help people, like I said. And so sometimes it's identifying if there's a gap in the process or if there's a team change that may need to be made. And then we help them. We give them the tools. Sometimes it's the technology
mm,
because frequently they don't have the right type of technology, meaning they don't have a good CRM that
yeah.
kind of guides the process and teaches them how to follow up effectively, or they don't know what profit producing activities look like. So again, during
Mm,
the day, they're wasting a lot of time because they don't know, me pushing this paper or just posting on social, which is great, is not really bringing in dollars right now. And so I should be spending 90 minutes minimum a day on revenue generating activities, things that are really bringing dollars to the bottom line, but they don't know what those things are many times. So we
yeah.
create those processes for them and then help them to be more efficient in what they're saying, what they're doing, and what technology they're using.
Yeah, okay. Okay. No, fantastic. Fantastic. And so if you were to like can you give an example as to one you don't have to give a name or anything, like one organization you've worked with and their systems, their processes, what went wrong and how you kind of overcome them? Because I think people on the team and the audience here, they would probably have some teams as well, and they'll probably think, I think I might need that.
Yeah, I mean, the team that recently has come to me, um, again, and unfortunately, many times people come to me when they're in desperate straits, right? They're like, "Oh, we need to bring money in right now. Let's hire a sales coach." And you know, frequently by the time they come, when it's like that, much rather them come proactively
Mm.
knowing that they need a sales manager, they need someone who can really guide their team and understand these things. But when they've come to me like that, again, the team they're feeling unappreciated. They're probably not making any money, or they're not making commissions because they don't have the tools to be able to do so. So they're frustrated.
Mm.
Um, they may have, because if they lack technology, like this team that I'm currently working with, they lack technology or the training on the technology. So there's people doing all these various things different ways. And so, for instance, one of the team members was talking to a prospective client, and then they were out of the office, maybe on vacation for a few
Mm.
days. And when someone else had to step in and talk to this prospective client, they didn't have a clue as to what was going on with that account because there was no documentation.
Yeah.
The person had documentation, but it wasn't in a system where everybody was able to access it, or it wasn't in the right place so that everybody knew where to access it.
Mm.
And so, when they come to me, many times they're just missing that camaraderie. They're missing that excitement because they're feeling just burned out. They're not feeling successful, and they don't feel like they know where to go from where they are. And so it's really important that we get them in a place where they can have some quick wins. So if they can
Yes.
make some quick sales, right? Using some of the techniques that we teach, now they're feeling excited again. And now we can actually begin to give them the tools to really have that longer term success.
Yeah, and technology, Tish, is so important, right? It's not everything,
Right.
but it's so important just to kind of understand the foundation and build that foundation. As you just said, if someone comes in like with a client and then they have to pick it up from another salesperson, then they have to understand who the client is rather than starting from scratch again. And as you say, the
Yeah.
system and the tools is so important. But again, as you mentioned, it is really important to have people working the tools and working the system as well, not just the tools in
Yes.
place.
Yeah, I was literally like, you guys have a Maserati here and you're treating it like it's a Mazda.
Yeah.
It's like they're not using it. They didn't know how to use it. They didn't have adequate training. And
Yeah.
so, it's like, oh, well, we're in a good place. You have good tools. We just have
Yeah.
to teach you how to use them appropriately. And that happens a lot too.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I get it. And so you doing the sales coaching to individuals, teams, what is your favorite thing to do in your business? Like what's your thing that makes you spark
Oh,
apart from the
speaking.
speaking?
Speaking for sure. Whether it's a workshop, to be honest with you, I love being in big conferences with hundreds or thousands of people. But to be honest with you, I'm just as content in a workshop with 10 people. I love teaching. I love sharing knowledge and giving people tools that they can immediately implement
Yep.
into their sales process. My favorite thing, period.
Oh, I love that so much. And so in terms of teaching, how can people find you? How can people get a bit more Tish?
Absolutely. If you go to tishtimes.com, you can schedule right off of the website. But if it's easier, you can email me directly at tish@tishtimes.com. And then all of my social is Tish Times. You can find me on every one of the social platforms at Tish Times.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Tish. And I'm like really, really thoroughly enjoyed having you part of the show and just like networking and having fun. I think you really are a perfect example of someone who has fun while networking and doing business. So good on you and keep doing what you're doing because I think it's a massive inspiration, especially for those who are in the grind, trying to get their head out of the weeds and wanting to find that spark in business or in sales again. So get in contact with Tish, listen to this podcast, reach out. And Tish, any last tips that you'd like to give the audience today?
I will say the most important thing, and it's a little cliche because people say it a lot, but fewer people do it, is, I mean, get a flawless follow-up process.
Mm,
And if you'll allow me to, I'll give you a link. We have a download that is, we call it the flawless follow-up formula. It's a template, meaning that you customize it however you want to for your business. But follow up really does make all the difference in the world. People probably lose more business because they don't follow up effectively
yep.
than they messed up the sales call, right? Even if you mess up the sales call, but you follow up really well, believe it or not, you could redeem yourself. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Follow up, follow up, follow up. And what I'll do is I'll have all your links in the description. So please check it out. Make sure you have a follow up system. Make sure you actually follow up as well, not just have a system
Yeah.
in place. And have fun and keep selling. So thank you so much, Tish. It has been a pleasure, and I hope we can do this again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great day.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you listening into the show today. And if you did like our content, please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or this YouTube series so that way we can keep giving you more content and sharing you more knowledge around how to scale your sales online. And if you are wanting to boost your sales online, please sign up to our e-sales school where you will learn to automate and navigate your way around in this digital marketplace. Thank you so much once again. I really appreciate you joining in today. And remember to keep selling, keep having fun, and keep being you.